As Hans Olsen has moved on to the corporate world, we're looking for the next great Utah sports radio talent.
There's something for everyone.
While we do that, you get stuck with this guy.
Hey, everybody, here's our star.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. It's another edition of the show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, folks, there are certain times of the year that you cannot screw up, all right? And we can call it, like the Grand Slam of golf, all right? You've got your Masters, you got your PGA Championship, you got the British, you got the U.S. Open. Those are the big four. Well, you have a big four when it comes to certain holidays that you absolutely cannot screw up. Number one, Valentine's Day. That's top of the list. You cannot screw up Valentine's Day. You can also not screw up Christmas. You're going to have an anniversary in there somewhere, and you're going to have a birthday in there. Those are your big four, okay? You cannot absolutely not screw those up. Well, guess what? There is one way I can absolutely guarantee you will not screw up Valentine's Day. I get it. You're a dude. You've waited too long, and now you're going to run to a grocery store and buy some wilted roses like, hey, baby, how about these? No, don't. No. That's not going to work for you. You're going to be on the couch, and you're going to be miserable. Your back's going to hurt the next day. It's not going to go your way. So what I want you to do is go to Minky Couture right here in Layton. Now, you can go to any of the Minky Couture locations up and down the Wasatch Front. But this one in particular, okay, we're a little partial because Lisa's awesome and the cruise up here is incredible. So you come here, and we will hook you up. We got all kinds of goodies. We got some freebies. And we'll also give you 55% off these blankets. That's right. Now, normally you're going to get 50 leading up to Valentine's Day, but because Sandy, Lisa, the rest of the crew are really kind to you because they know you're a dude and you've screwed up too many Valentine's Days in the past, they want to help you out and give you 55% off these blankets. Again, we're in Layton. Now, here's the other secret, too. That 55% is going to work at all the Minky Couture locations. So if you're down south, I totally understand it. If you're up north, by the way, Logan's got a beautiful Minky Couture location. I was driving on Main Street coming off of the game last night when Utah State got that win. So there's a lot of great Minky Couture locations. You're going to get 55% off all of those. But I am selfish. I do want Lisa to think that we actually have people listening to the show. So please come by this location here in Layton and say hi. We'll make it worth your while for sure. So I'm up here in Layton. Lloyd's back in studio. Lloyd, how are you, my friend?
I'm jealous of where you're at because there's nothing better than a Minky. We're always there around the holidays, whether it's Christmas time or Valentine's, and it's easily one of the best gifts that you can get your loved one. No, there's no doubt. And look, here's another thing too. If you get a blanket for your significant other, your spouse, girlfriend, both, we don't judge, whatever, you're going to open up the packaging and you're going to look at the tag. She's going to look at the tag. And if it doesn't say Minky, you're sunk. You're done. Okay? This is a signature gift, and not any old blanket's going to do. It's got to have that Minky tag on it, and it's a status symbol. All right? All right. We got a lot to get to on the show today. Danny Ainge, president of the Utah Jazz, will join us coming up at 12:30. Jaren Jackson Jr. absolutely will be in the lineup tonight. He will be making his Delta Center debut. You will be able to see him up close and in person in his first time wearing a Jazz uniform in the Delta Center. So you are not going to want to miss that. If you have tickets, make sure you're there. If you don't have tickets, make sure to grab them because this is going to be a historic night. A major linchpin for the Utah Jazz going forward will be in the lineup tonight for the Utah Jazz. So Jaren Jackson met with the media. We'll have some of that conversation. Funky Mark Medina will join us coming up at 2:05, and Jared Calhoun, head coach at Utah State, will join us at 2:30. So let's not waste any time. All right, we got some stuff to say here. We got some stuff to get off our chest, and I think a lot of the hosts here on the Zone, a lot of times we'll disagree on some things, but I think on this one we're all on the same wavelength. Now, I love the NBA. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are having a hard time with the NBA for various reasons, but I love watching professional basketball. You will see things on an NBA court you will not see anywhere else. It is far and away the best athletes on the planet. So I love everything about NBA basketball. Basketball, that is. But sometimes, I go back to a quote somebody said about their significant other.
and they said, I love him, but sometimes I don't like him. And right now, I love the NBA, but I'm having a hard time liking the NBA because of the moral hypocrisy some people have when it comes to allowing some things to slide and other things not to slide. And Bobby Marks, who does a tremendous job covering the league, he is a phenomenal salary cap guru. That guy does a tremendous job, and when trades go on, and he'll break it down, this is how it affects the salary cap, this is how far under a team is, this is how far over. He does a great job with that. But then when he talks about getting on a moral high ground with the NBA, and in particular the Utah Jazz, he misses, no pun intended, the mark in a big way. This is him yesterday.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. The ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players, and it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
What hammer? Knock it off. It's the dumbest thing that I've heard in a long time. All right, so let's go and talk about where this got sideways. This has been going on for decade after decade after decade. All right, teams have been tanking forever. And now all of a sudden, because the Jazz got a little bit more creative in how they did it as opposed to other teams, now we're going to try to sink the Utah Jazz. Okay, if Greg Popovich does this in San Antonio, everybody rolls their eyes like, oh, that's Pop being Pop. Oh, that clever SOB's doing his thing again. Okay, if it's somebody else if it's somebody for the Knicks doing this, oh, okay, well, that's the landscape we're living in. Guess that's how it goes. They found a loophole, so more power to them. Anybody else in the league does this, nobody blinks an eye. But because it's the Jazz, they can hone in on that and say, all right, no, okay, this is where you cross the line. Because it's really easy to go after the Jazz, a proverbial small market team. They want to go after them. It's ridiculous. It's insanely dumb. It's insanely ridiculous that you've got talking heads nationally trying to rally the league against the Utah Jazz. It's stupid. It's ill-sighted. And here's the thing. The Jazz would have been better off. This isn't even an issue. Nobody blinks an eye on this if the Jazz never played a single second with Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson. If they said, hey, Jaren Jackson, guess what? He came up limp a little bit in practice. He pulled a hammy. And so for precautionary reasons, we're going to sit him out the next 4 or 5 games. Lauri Markkanen, hey, he got really sick. He's under the weather. He's going to be out the next few games. Nobody blinks an eye. But because the Jazz said, no, we just acquired a new player. We want to see how he interacts with our other guys. We want to see how they play together. We want people who came to these games, who bought tickets to the games, to see our best players. Even in 3 quarters instead of 4 quarters, we're going to provide that. Now the Jazz are taking the hit. Oh, apparently that's too far. That's where the line is crossed. So we let you play for 3 quarters, and then we pull them in the fourth quarter. That's a problem. Come on, you're being a hypocrite. Anybody running their mouth about this and how it is hurting the integrity of the game is flat out being a hypocrite. Number one, and first off, props to Ben Anderson for bringing this up. This is a system that the players agreed upon, that the NBA owners agreed upon. This is a collectively bargained agreement between these two sides that this is the system we have. If you don't like it, well, guess what? There'll be a new CBA coming up. You can change it. There's no hammer to be thrown here on a collective bargained agreement between two sides that this is the system that they want to go with. Now, are you mad at the Utah Jazz specifically? Is that the team you want to go and fight against? Well, so be it, but understand this has been going on for a long time. The integrity of the NBA when it comes to the NBA draft has been in the tank forever. Now, there was a little bit of upset people when Luka got traded to Dallas, but that went away very quickly. And then Dallas ends up winning the number 1 seed overall. Okay, you can't tell me that doesn't seem a little shady? Look, the NBA draft has been a mess forever. And we have a generational draft coming up that could rival, and I know I hate putting expectations on guys, but it could rival what we see in what we saw in 2003. That's the kind of talent that we have in this year's NBA draft. If these guys live up to the expectations that have been heaped upon them. So if they live up to these expectations, there is essentially 30 to 40% of the NBA is going to do everything they can to get in the top 5 of that NBA draft. And the Utah Jazz are in a very precarious situation because, as we know, if they finish in the NBA draft lottery 9 or higher, then they convey that pick and it goes right over to Oklahoma City. So you want Oklahoma City to continue to build that monstrous roster? That's what you want? Of course not. And because I always say it feels weird here in Utah because sometimes we have this, I'm trying to think of the right word, imposter syndrome, or we have this feeling like everybody's out to get us. And sometimes it's actually true. Now, not more often than not, it's not. But this persecution complex we have is very much warranted on this one because this is one of the few NBA franchises that Bobby Marks and countless other talking heads across the national landscape will point out as being a problem. He doesn't say this about the Knicks. He won't say this about Dallas. He definitely wouldn't say this about the Lakers. He wouldn't say this about the Clippers. Go down the list. There are so many teams that he never in a million years would say anything about. But because the Jazz are an easy target and he doesn't think there's going to be any pushback whatsoever, he feels like it's his opportunity to go all in, get on his soapbox, and say that the integrity of the NBA has been hurt by this game. The integrity of the NBA was hurt when they fixed the lottery to make sure that Patrick Ewing went to the Knicks. That's all the way back to, 1985. Stuck an envelope in the freezer, thing was cold, they pulled it out, and guess what? The Knicks are your winner of the NBA lottery. The integrity has been damaged for a long time. But no, it's the Utah Jazz because they sat players in the fourth quarter and they didn't call a timeout in the fourth quarter. That's where your line is. Oh, okay, no. Okay, New York can fix it for Patrick Ewing. Dallas can get the beneficiary of trading a star to the Lakers and get Cooper Flagg. All this stuff, now that's okay. But the Jazz not calling a timeout in the fourth quarter and not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. in the fourth quarter, that's where the line is. Come on, stop it. It's dumb. It's dumb, it's ridiculous, and it's way over the top. It's unwarranted. I think it was Rick Majerus that made the joke that the NCAA one year was so mad at UNLV that they put Cleveland State on probation. That's what it is. You got a lot of people out there that are upset at the NBA draft lottery and the mess that it is. And so who are they going to take it out on? They're not going to take it out on Dallas for getting Cooper Flagg. They're not going to take it out on anybody else outside of who they think is an easy target in the Utah Jazz, which, again, goes back to my original comment. I love professional basketball. I love nothing more than to sit in the stands or in media row watching NBA hoops because the game itself is awesome. But it's hard sometimes to like the NBA because of this stuff. I mean, there's so many things that you can point to. And look, I have a dad. He's in his 80s. My dad and I watched so many NBA games growing up. He was a huge NBA fan. And now in the later stages of life where he's not as mobile as he used to be, he watches tons of sports. He won't watch NBA anymore. He's done with it. And there's, a lot of reasons out there as to why, and you can guess what those are. But there's a lot of people out there that refuse to watch the NBA because of nonsense like this, because of things that just don't make a lot of sense. Like, hey, we're all about human rights, which we all are, and I'm all about it, except for when we mess with China and that cash cow. Now we got to, let's back off here. We're hurting our bottom line. We can't mess with that. There are just certain things about the NBA. The NBA does so many things right. The quality of the game is better than it's ever been. And people may argue that, but I love where the NBA is right now in its pace of play, in its tempo, the way the game is played, the scores in which it's played, the athleticism that you see night in and night out. I love everything about it. It's just hard sometimes to like the NBA when they do dumb things like this because Adam Silver needs to find – look, if you want to change it, change it. That's great. But if you're going to look at the Jazz and put them on the pedestal of cheating – and they're the ones that are doing it wrong. They're the ones that have crossed the line. They're the ones hurting the integrity of the NBA. Then you're just talking to talk. That's just you as a producer at ESPN coming to Bobby Marks and saying, hey, Bobby, you know what? People are getting really tired of the salary cap stuff. I mean, it's great info, but come on, that's not going to move the meter. You got to take a stand on something. You really got to go after somebody and really make a difference here. All right, well, what can you do? Well, the Jazz just rested everybody in the fourth quarter. All right, bam, I got it. I'll go off on the Jazz. I mean, all he's doing, he's rage baiting you as a Jazz fan. He's taking an easy target on you as a Jazz fan, and he knows there won't be any pushback because he thinks that it's the Jazz. Nobody's going to care. Well, guess what? You should care because that's your franchise he's going after. That's your lineup he's going after. That's your coaching staff he's going after. That's your front office that he's going after. And this is nothing that would ever have been said about Greg Popovich. Look, Pop was the master at resting players. And there were a lot of people who bought tickets because they wanted to see Tony Parker. They wanted to see Manu Ginobili. They wanted to see Tim Duncan. And guess what? They would show up and get none of them because you got a guy that would rest everybody. Now, it worked for him because they would get into the playoffs. Those guys were rested, and they were probably able to extend their career 4 more years and probably picked up another title because of that rest philosophy. But nobody said anything. People would grumble a little bit, but nobody would say it was hurting the integrity of the game. Here, people paid money to go see a game. They paid money to go see Jaren Jackson. Guess what? Jaren Jackson's going to be in the lineup tonight. You're going to be able to see Jaren Jackson. Good chance you're going to see Lauri Markkanen tonight if you're a member of the Jazz fan base. Would you rather them not play at all? Or would you rather them play 3 quarters and then sit in the fourth quarter so hopefully the Jazz can be better situated to get Boozer or DeBonsa or any of these other guys coming out in the draft? This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Danny Ainge coming up next.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk some Utah Jazz basketball. Joining us, Danny Ainge. Danny, how are you?
Scott, good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm trying to live life and trying to figure out what life is like without our guy Hans, but we're going to hold down the fort while we try to find the next great radio star. So I appreciate you bearing with us.
Not even trials. You're just doing it solo. I like it.
Well, yeah, we've got a few more people coming in, but, I guess I was selfish. I just wanted to sit and chat with you and go over a lot of things. And first off, the anatomy of a trade, and I know not every trade is created equal. Was this something that was in the works for a while, or did it come together pretty quickly with Jaren Jackson?
It took a while. Yeah, I mean, Jaren has been a player that's been unavailable for any team over the last year or 2 or 3. So the interest, when they called and had some interest in making some deals, and we called them. You'd have to talk to Austin about what that order was, but anyway, yeah, I think it moved fast. We had a lot of discussion, but when I say moved fast, I meant there was conversation fast, but the trade process went slow. It took a call back, a few days later, there's more. So it went all the way up until, very close to the deadline.
So when you are working with a team, and this isn't just about Jaren Jackson, but just in general, I think, so, maybe even months or even years in advance, you kind of express, hey, we really like this guy. Just kind of let us know if there's anything coming down the pipeline. Is that kind of the groundwork that maybe is laid way in advance of something that comes down, that eventually comes to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those conversations have been had before, but like I said, he's been a player that was never been available before.
Yeah.
So when he was, we made a plan to see if it was something that we could do and something that was good for us.
What does he do for this team, not just short term, but long term?
His versatility, his defense, his ability to score in the paint, his ability to spread the floor. I mean, he's a very versatile player and does a little bit of everything. Can handle the ball. For a 6'11" guy with a 7'5" wingspan, he's pretty well skilled all around basketball. So I think he's a really nice piece to add for our team.
you look at the potential size. I know that Walker Kessler's got to go through restricted free agency, but just hypothetically, with him and Jaron, and then Laurie at the 3, and Ace at the 2, and Keontae at the 1. I mean, you went to you could potentially have an extremely big lineup on your hands. What does that do for this team, and how does that help you?
Well, it just helps. It makes defense easier. It doesn't guarantee that you're better defensively, but size does matter in our business. And so the ability to play big and small, Walker could play the 5 without Jaron on the court at the 4. You move Lowry to the 4. You could play Jaron at the 5 and Lowry at the 4. You could play all 3 of them together, which is what we really like in a starting lineup. And so it just gives your team some variety and some versatility to play against different types of talent.
Keontae making the jump that he did that give you a little bit more, with his acceleration of his progress, did that give you a little bit more opportunities knowing, okay, we've got that spot locked down, now we can focus our attention in other areas?
I think that Keontae's play is we've been very impressed with and excited about, and how he's progressing, how he's worked, how his conditioning, how he's more in control of his emotions, and how much just better player, stronger, more confident in his abilities. It's been fun to watch over the last couple of years.
What is a player like that, what goes into making that jump? Obviously, it's a lot of time in the gym, but I remember talking to Booner at Media Day, and he said, watch out for Keontae because he's put in the work just not on the court, but off the court as well. What does that say about his maturity that he's been able to take that step?
Yeah, when we drafted Keontae, it was a big theme for us and for him and his future was conditioning. I think that's for most players, if not all players, that's a big factor. And, conditioning in the NBA to me is a cheat code. And it's something that he focused on in his first couple of years, but he really put in the time this year. I mean, he was around our gym with other players, with all of our young guys, and leading the way. And the conditioning has improved a lot in all of them, but particularly Keontae put in an amazing amount of time.
How hard is it to project a guy when you draft a guy 1 year out of high school to project his ability to put on weight, put on muscle, and once you get him in your facility and you're with your dietitians, that is it difficult to project what they will look like in 2 or 3, maybe 4 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, was it difficult for you to project what you would look like when you were 19?
I was on the McDonald's and Burger King plan, so I kind of knew exactly what direction I was going to go. But, yeah.
You knew where you were headed. Yeah, me too. I've lost some weight lately. But, yeah, no, I understand. But, yeah, at 19, you just don't know for sure. I mean, you see you have a picture in your mind of approximately what it can be. But so much of it just depends on the commitment, the work, of being able to fight through adversity, and have good people around you that you trust and believe. And I think we have that in our organization. We have great people in our medical staff and in our nutrition, all the way through. So yeah, it's good. It's good that they've got that way. But I think that I did see in Keontae the ability to get stronger and in much better shape. I thought that was something that he could do if he wanted it.
There's a great Rick Majerus story about how he was recruiting a kid, and apparently he was super skinny, and he's sitting in the living room with the kid and his parents, and he said, I'd be concerned about your ability to put on weight, but I'm looking at your mom over here, and it shouldn't be a problem with those genetics. And I'm like, that's about a classic of Rick Majerus story as you can possibly get. But when you close on a trade, everybody talks about the acquisition, but also it's got to be tough as a guy that recruited, players like Taylor Hendricks, and you have to say, hey, we loved what you've done here, but we're pulling the trigger on this trade. Is that really the downside of your profession? Is that the hard part, to have those tough conversations?
Not so much in trades. I mean, trades are hard for sure. I think when you're cutting guys, it's harder.
Yeah.
But when you have a home to go play in the NBA in another city and another team, and maybe even a better opportunity, I was a player that was traded twice, and I was excited about it both times. Went to different situations, and so I think that sometimes things can get stagnant. But when you have players that they see an opportunity going forward, it's not so bad.
So I think that's a really interesting point. We just watched a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, who'd played for a bunch of teams, and then finally it settled in and clicked for him in Minnesota, and then obviously winning a Super Bowl this year in Seattle. Is sometimes just a change of venue, a change of voice as a coach, can that trigger a player to take another step?
Yeah, and also just, with coaching, teammates, quality of your teammates, how they utilize your talents. Are they able to recognize what you do best, and instead of trying to fit you into a system? And every player is unique in that regard. I mean, some players can play in any system, but a lot of times, even the great ones, your team has to make a major adjustment over to a new player coming in how they play. And so, with Jaren, it's great because he just plays. He plays defense. He plays offense. He runs the court. He, like I said, his versatility allows him to be able to be on the court with anybody in any style.
I know that he's got media availability, and we're going to play that a little bit later on. But overall, when you have your first conversation with him, and you and Austin and Ryan, and you say, hey, we're bringing you to Utah, what were those conversations like with him?
Oh, he was very positive and very excited about the opportunity to play in Utah. And, he was really excited for a change and something new in his career.
How appealing is it, not just him as a player, obviously that skill set, but the fact that he's 26 and he's got a ton of years left on his contract? How much did that play into the equation as well?
Sure. I mean, getting a player that's been a two-time All-Star and is still only 26, that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's very, very rare. And so we couldn't be more excited than to have him in the fold, and you can feel the excitement with everybody in the organization right now.
Well, Jaren Jackson making his debut in the Delta Center tonight wearing a Jazz uniform. As we, we're in the stretch run of the season, what do you want to accomplish and see from him and see for him and Larry out on the court together? What are some of your goals as you go into next season or this offseason and going into next season?
Well, I would say that, we're not realistically a playoff team. And I feel like, this off season, this summer, this fall, and next winter are going to be huge, and we're going to have a lot of time to figure all that out. Instead of doing it on the run, we'll have more time to really get those guys acclimated with one another in the off season.
So there is this thought process that when that trade came down the pipeline, that it felt like the Jazz had taken that step, and we'd all been waiting, and you guys have been incredibly patient, making sure the right deal was available to take that next step. But I know, and I'm sure you felt this from the community as well, the excitement like, okay, it's go time. Do you feel that in the front office as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like our planning sessions are much different right now with the higher-ups in the organization, and just as we're looking forward to the off season and what we can do to put a better team together. Just,
Austin and Jay-Z doing a lot of work in the preparation, but when a deal is coming together, do they then circle you in, and then Ryan, or what are those conversations? I think people are fascinated to know kind of how quickly a trade can come together once Austin and Jay-Z kind of put the framework together.
Yeah, I mean, those guys that do most of the legwork and the phone calls to other organizations. But, Ryan and I are brought into every deal that has a chance or it gets cold or even discussed in before those calls are even made. So, yeah, everybody is involved in those decisions for sure.
Well, Danny, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you again. But, again, congratulations. Awesome move, and I know a lot of people are really fired up about where this team is at right now and where they're going to be down the line.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Good luck with you in as you're looking for a partner.
Hey, you know what? I'm just know this. Like, if you want to take a massive pay cut and you're bored from noon to 3, you always have a chair here. Just know that.
All right, sounds good. You never know in this business, right?
No doubt. Thanks, Danny.
All right, see ya.
There he is, Danny Ainge. And that's what I really wanted to spend some time with him and talk to about how trades come together, how quickly this one. The Jazz have had Jaren Jackson in their sights for a long time, but you know what? Memphis was like, no, we like him, and he's going to be part of us. And they made a big commitment with him on a contract, and he's 26 years old. But then when you have a chance, finally, when Memphis says, okay, let's chat, you got to be ready. And you got to have the assets in place, and you have to have everything ready to go so that you can make that move. The Jazz, after the Mike Conley trade a few years ago, they had no assets, none. And what the Jazz were able to acquire in the Rudy Gobert trade, the Donovan Mitchell trade, and so many other moves along the way to be able to stockpile that pick, to be able to grab that Phoenix #1 pick in 2031, that sucker was worth its weight in gold. And, everybody's like, well, 2031, that's a long ways away. Okay, sure, it's unprotected. Yes, but you don't understand what that means as an asset right now for trades that can come down the pipeline, and that's what's really paid dividends for the Utah Jazz. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, we're live here at Minky Couture in Layton, 55% off. 55% off these blankets right now. You come on by, you pick up a blanket, 55% off. Make sure you say Zone 55, and you'll be a hero on Valentine's Day. We'll chat with Lisa coming up in our next segment. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as it's another edition of what you may have missed right here on the Zone. By the way, we were just talking during the break. Brant and I were chatting about Lindsey Vonn. She has now undergone a third leg surgery since that Olympic crash. So not one, not two, but three on that broken left leg. She put a picture of herself up on the old Instagram, and my goodness, the harness that leg is in, yeah, I think she's probably going to call it a career. She said, I had my third surgery today. It was successful. Success today has a completely different meaning than it did a few days ago. I'm making progress. It'll be slow. It'll be okay. She had suffered a complex tibia fracture, which apparently was a compound fracture as well. It is currently stable, but will require multiple surgeries to fix properly. She's had 3 already, and anticipates that there will be more coming down the pipeline. So, again, I thought it was really interesting. My wife mentioned this when she was looking online, and a lot of people were going after Lindsey Vonn, saying, well, you know what, you weren't in a situation with that torn ACL where you could have competed. You took a spot from somebody that was more deserving, and that's why you got in the crash, because you have the ACL had nothing to do with the crash. It had zero to do with the crash. All right, so you know what? I will share that Lindsey Vonn story. I think Disney needs to make a movie about her. I think I will tell that story to my kids about overcoming adversity and fighting through pain. And even when things don't go your way, having a great attitude. I mean, if anything, she should be propped up for what she did. But, again, you got a bunch of keyboard warriors out there that want to tear down everybody, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Lindsey Vonn, absolutely, absolutely incredible, and certainly we wish her well in her rehabilitation. Now, we mentioned yesterday, we talked to Kurt Helin, what we anticipated would be the suspension over the fight between Detroit and Charlotte. Isaiah Stewart, he thought he might get 3 games. Nope, he gets 7 games. Now, remember, this is kind of a lifetime achievement award for Isaiah Stewart, because this isn't a one-off for him. He's been, again, even the league said it was based on his repeated history of unsportsmanlike acts. Lloyd is what they would call a repeat offender.
He's a little bit of a goon.
Yeah, the dude, yeah. And so he left the bench area, aggressively entered an on-court altercation, fought during Monday night's game, and that's why he gets 7 games. Remember, he's already been suspended 5 times. He had an altercation with LeBron James back in 21, suspended twice last season, And, this dude's looking to throw fists anytime he can. Other players receive some suspensions as well. Bridges suspended 4 games. Jalen Duran gets 2 games for the altercation, as the league is not having any of that. That's one thing the league's they will throw the hammer down. You want Bobby Marks and his hammer to be thrown? Well, you get into a fight. And not just one of those where guys puff out their chest and they pretend like they want to fight, but deep down they want no part of it. When you actually do fight, the NBA takes that really, really seriously. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.